Heartbroken after discovering that my husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I, 41 female, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 48 male, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids, whom we'll call Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son Eric has a girlfriend, 18F, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered his family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy. Our son's girlfriend, and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his cock. I froze in place in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because, over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has a porn addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed. It was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy lolling. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely fucked up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this, and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any fucking sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Comment 1. I'm so sorry you're going through this. It's completely understandable to feel overwhelmed and devastated by such a betrayal. You deserve support during this painful time, and it's important to take care of yourself first as you navigate this situation. Comment 2. It's a tough position to be in, especially considering your son's feelings. When you're ready, talking to a trusted friend or a therapist might help you figure out your next steps. You're not alone in this, and finding support can make a huge difference. Update 1. I'm using pseudonyms for confidentiality. I shared a situation a few days ago on another subreddit involving my 41F husband, Paul 48M, our children, Eric 18M and Mary 15F. I discovered that Paul was having an affair with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. My son has been dating her since they were freshmen in high school. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog-type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk. It was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18 to 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc., He also had different outfits which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform, and a French maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him. And he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic physical recently, and before that, she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty he had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments in time she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated, and how it's made me a shell of myself, and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself, because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Update 2. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. It gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've received many comments and messages accusing me of faking this story, which oddly also provides comfort because all of this feels unreal even to me. It validates my own feelings that there are people out there who can't even fathom this being true. I wish it were fake. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings, which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful, and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I am refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean based on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now. He seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think he deep down knows that if investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him. And the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with a therapist as well. But she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad, and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the color of her yoga pants. At the time no issue was brought up about it, but in light of everything that has been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas, or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality, and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all, and has been constantly trying to reach Paul, because again, she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that, and believes I took away his devices and am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain, and still sees Paul through rose-colored glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying I photoshopped it. According to her mom, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man. And that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things I don't do for him sexually. Right now she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. He's honestly a slimeball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment, maybe eventually though. Now, for the next story. My husband's demand that I embrace motherhood for his child from an affair. I, 29 female, and my husband, 44 male, have been together for 5 years and married for 2. I met him at the church I started going to when I moved cities to start my career. I work for an insurance company and he's a pastor. I know that we have a notable age gap, but he was always kind to me and made me feel special. Anyhow, a week ago he came home and told me we needed to talk. He told me through tears that he had been having an affair with one of our community members, 34 female, and that she had been pregnant with twins. She had gone into labor, and one of the twins died and the other is in the NICU. He said we need to step up and that he wants me to turn my office into a nursery and set up a cot in the room so we can take turns. I became distressed and told him I wanted some time to think. That I was not sure I wanted to do this. He told me that I had made a vow to him in marriage and that God had blessed us with a child. That this is our cross to bear, and that God will never give us something we cannot handle. I told him that it seemed God had given her more than she could handle. Because she had died, I know I should not have, but I was not thinking correctly. He slapped me and told me that I needed to serve my husband. That God had chosen me as this child's mother and I needed to be his humble servant. I just feel so strange. Yesterday I cried so hard I threw up. This woman died, yet I feel bad for myself. I feel so ugly. I wanted children and was saving for IVF because I am infertile. But now that I have a chance to have a child and I do not want it, I feel like I'd be robbing its mother's grave. I pray to God, but if I'm being honest, it's never felt like anyone was ever listening. I feel like I have truly seen my husband and he no longer looks kind, he looks his age, and very tired. I want to abandon him and the child. I'm only 29, I can start over. I have a remote job, I can take a day off when he goes to the NICU, pack my essentials and leave. Neither him nor the child deserve this, and although this is my circus, that is not my monkey. Comments. Comment 1. Leave. You cannot trust this man. You have absolutely no obligation to become his mistress's child's mom. This isn't Sister Wives. This is all a very unfortunate and sad situation, but you are a hurt party here. God didn't tell him to knock up a woman outside of his marriage. This whole thing was of your husband's own making. He is trying to coerce you by abusing y'all's religion for his own selfish wants. No. Isn't it in the Bible that if your eyes tempt you to sin that you should gouge your eyes out? Well, I'm assuming his eyes are pretty much intact, aren't they? And the cherry on top is he felt so self-righteous in that moment to slap you after everything he's done. No. Comment 2. I felt so sad reading this. I also think she was extremely restrained. If any man slapped me, I would find a baseball bat and blow out his teeth. Here's hoping she can forget all about this terrible part of her life and move forward to better things. Update 1. I just want to thank you all for the support. I'm still processing this all, and I just need a little time. I don't feel unsafe, just unloved, just not enough. My husband did apologize for slapping me and continues to express regret. But he can't take it back. Just as he cannot take back impregnating another woman, which ultimately killed her. I'm just feeling so disillusioned with my whole life right now. I know I should leave. I know that there is a world out there that will not treat me like this, but I am scared of change. I am working on a plan to leave and getting my ducks in a row for when I am ready to go. But I am not sure when I would leave if I choose to. Many expressed that I should make a report to the police about him slapping me. And they're probably right, but that would likely cause me more problems than it would be worth. If I leave, it might make him want to contest the divorce more, and if I stay, it would cause more tension. I've been working on my left hook though, because I won't let him get away with it again. I'm not violent myself, but I'm down for a tussle, because although I'm hurt, I am angry. I'm not sure if there will be an update because I'm still unsure. I can make all the plans in the world, but the change scares me almost as much as bending to his will. I've been praying about it, but I see no clear answers or guidance. I don't know. Funny thing, I'm jealous of the people saying that this is fake. It's like I want my life to be like it was 2 weeks ago. I could read a crazy story on the internet and think, wow, that's crazy, seems kind of fake, and keep scrolling and go about my life. Only I can't scroll away in real life because that's just not how life works. I don't know anyone proof of my life tragedies, least of all strangers on the internet whom I will never meet. I do thank all who have given support. I wish I could tell you I packed my bags and left his sorry ass, but I'm not strong enough to yet. It's not that easy to do in real life as it turns out. Odd. Update 2. I left. If that's all you wanted to know, there it is. For those of you who asking how the other woman died, I get it. I invited you into my business. It was an amniotic fluid embolism. I don't know much about those, but I guess when they happen, things go wrong really, really fast. We lived in a more rural area, so they just weren't ready for something like that to happen. I didn't leave right away, as I know now that I should have. It just wasn't that easy. I stayed for 2 months. I knew if I did not at least try to make it work, I would not be able to live with it. Not because I wanted to save my marriage, but because what ifs keep me up at night enough as is. I went to marriage counseling with my husband, but it was ultimately fruitless. Of course, it was Christian counseling. I felt like their goal was for me to forgive him rather than actually trying to help me. I was so utterly alone during that time. My parents and brother are also very religious, so even though they weren't happy with my husband, they kept urging me to do what a good Christian wife would do. I spent so much time suffering in my own head that I began to realize that I was just going through the motions, doing what I thought people expected of me. I entered a state of derealization for a time, and that was an absolute mind FT. The feeling of nothing being real, not even myself, was horrible. During this period, my husband brought his baby home, and while he tried to split the cares 50/50 at first, he ultimately didn't trust me to look after the baby because I was lost in space. So he ended up being the primary provider. When I was with the baby, all I could think about was how its existence ruined my life. It'd look at me with big blue eyes and I would just wish it would disappear. I would actively spend time resenting a baby. There was a time when I was thinking to myself and I wished it would stop breathing. That was when I knew that I needed to leave. I was blaming a baby and wishing ill upon it, and that was not okay to do. I don't remember much about this time besides that. It's mostly a blur otherwise. I sought services through my work to talk to a therapist, and I eventually came back to earth. She helped me make a plan. At no point did I fear my husband. I truly believe the slap was a one-off event. However, screw him, he doesn't deserve closure. On a night he had a long Bible study, he always took his baby with him. Because he didn't trust me, I packed my essentials and dipped. I met him pretty quickly after college, so I did not have much to take as far as furnishings. I fit everything I wanted in 3 suitcases and 4 moving boxes. It all fit into my SUV after some mediocre Tetris skills. I was able to change my phone number online before I left, but I did leave the divorce papers under his pillow with my lawyer's contact info. Kind of like the Tooth Fairy, but for adults assholes. I was the breadwinner. In my state, we were not married long enough for me to pay spousal maintenance. At least that is what my lawyer said. I own my vehicle outright, we had our own bank accounts, and a shared expenses account. We filed taxes separately, and the church owns the house. He's being an ass about it all, but I'm hoping it should be done soon. I got a decent apartment in a city a few hundred miles away. I've never lived in a city this big before. Everything is so expensive, but besides that I like it. I found a new therapist, met some new friends, and found a new church with loving people. I still have my days, but for the most part one content. I think it will always hurt on some level, but I'm working on taking my power back. I turn 30 next month, and I am hopeful it will be the start of my best decade yet.